Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to focus on more of a different mix when it comes to authentic Italian food and whatnot. Now we as Americans, a lot of times when we say Italian or when you say Italian, we think spaghetti, lasagna, or even eggplant parmesan or ravioli. But what I want to do is just use this first segment of my show to actually focus on more authentic Italian cuisine. So today we're going to be making penne alla vodka. I know that might sound a little bit complicated, but trust me, it's really effortless and whatnot. So what I'm going to do right now is just go over some of the ingredients that we're actually going to put in the food and whatnot. So what we're going to probably start off with doing is I'm going to go ahead and put maybe like a tablespoon of oil in my pot. And I'm going to let that sit for just a minute. I want to just get it just a little bit smoky hot, so as soon as I put the onions in, they'll start to sizzle, and that way they'll simmer and they'll saute a lot faster. But some of the ingredients that we're going to be working with today include onions, tomatoes, basil, oregano, garlic, and of course we got to add butter, and of course that crushed red pepper. And as you can see, these are probably pretty much the same ingredients that you would use to make some of the more traditional American Italian cuisines like spaghetti and whatnot. But first off, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead, now that my pot is pretty much heated, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter because that's going to help. And I always try to use unsalted butter because I think it has just a little bit more flavor than the salted. Then I'm going to go ahead and add a whole chopped onion. And we'll kind of let that cook down for a minute, and this will just take a few minutes. And as it's cooking, what we're going to do is, since we got a pot boiling on the back of the stove, we're going to go ahead and just add our pasta. I normally like to do like a pound of pasta depending on how many people I'm feeding and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and add my pasta there. And since it's already been pre-boiling, it shouldn't take very long for it to heat up and get done. Now that my onions are coming to a sizzle, I'm going to go ahead and add in my basil, and I love the way this basil smells, along with this garlic. It adds a certain aroma to the air. It's just great.
Yes.
And I added all my spices, maybe a tablespoon of crushed red pepper and a teaspoon of oregano. So now what I'm going to do is mix all that together. And we're going to go ahead and let it simmer down. And while that's simmering down, you can actually smell the aroma of the basil and the onions marrying together with the butter and the garlic. And it's just, it's aromatic. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Smells good.
Makes me want to make a pizza instead of penne alla vodka.
All right.
Yeah, so there we go. We're going to just add a little bit more spice in there to give it extra kick. Now I'm going to go ahead and add maybe a tablespoon of salt while the onions are simmering. And some cracked black pepper. And I love using cracked black pepper because it has certain flavor that the peppercorns add to certain dishes, especially tomato sauces and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I just go really crazy with the crushed red pepper. So we're going to go ahead and let that simmer down. And while we're letting that simmer and cook down and letting our onions and basil simmer together and cook down, I want to talk to everybody. We'll talk to you about the penne alla vodka just a little bit more. I know a lot of people think, oh, penne alla vodka, what is that? And it's basically just vodka with tomatoes and pasta and whatnot with a little bit of heavy cream and some Parmesan. Everybody, you have so many different recipes out there on Google and whatnot, but I'm just pretty much giving you a taste of my recipe that I put together and whatnot. With me being a foodie, it's nothing for me to go online, look up a recipe, and just put my own spin on it and whatnot. Because, food is my passion, it's my thing, so it's something I really just go with. And I'll tell you, once the tomatoes cook down in the vodka, it's going to add a certain flavor that's just going to drive you pretty much crazy. And that's why I just love the dish.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, thank you. And you want to know something? This is a good dish to make, especially when you have your girlfriends over and when they've never had it. That way, this gives you a real chance to show out and show your real culinary skills and whatnot.
I know that's right. Show out.
But you're going to have a lot of food to take home, Marcia. So while actually my onions and basil are cooking down, I'm going to go ahead and focus on my tomatoes. I always try to use the store-bought tomatoes and whatnot. I love tomatoes. So that they'll cook cook down easier and faster, I'm going to go ahead and try to chop them up a little bit. And of course, the juice that we have here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to also add that to my mix and whatnot. See here. Now, you don't really have to chop them up. You don't have to mince them up, but just give them a good chop so that you don't have whole tomatoes in your sauce. You want them to cook down as much as possible, especially considering the fact that once they're going to go in the food processor, you don't want to have to process the mix that you're making of the sauce very long. So I'm going to go ahead, because I don't want to get tomatoes all over the floor. I'm going to transport them back to the bowl. Then I'm going to go ahead and just add them to my sauce. I'm going to kind of go ahead and cook that, and I'm going to put my heat up a little bit higher so they can cook faster and cook together. And that smells so good coming together. Now, to thicken it, what I'm going to do is add a tablespoon of tomato paste just to give it a thick. Then, of course, I'm going to add my sugar to give it a little bit more spice. And this is the same recipe that I pretty much follow with the spaghetti sauces and whatnot that I make. But, of course, it's going to be a different twist because we're not going to add a wine. The only alcohol we're going to be adding is the vodka. So, of course, we're going to let that mix in and cook down. And let's just see what's going on over here with our pasta. Our pasta seems to be coming along pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and give that a quick stir. You know, normally I will say a lot of times when I'm making penne alla vodka, I don't use a traditional penne. Sometimes I'll use bow tie pasta to kind of give it a more pizzazzy look.
Oh yes, I love bow tie pasta.
You know, I love bow tie pasta, and I like to experiment with all different types of pastas because I'm really intrigued with, Italian cuisine. So yeah, just to give you guys an idea, I definitely like to use the bow tie pasta. I'm going to go ahead and put this back up here because I'm not going to be using it.
There's a Cajun restaurant here. They have a good bow tie pasta. It is so good.
I guess I'm going to have to check them out, get some pointers and whatnot. So as you can see, the sauce is actually coming along pretty well. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add a cold cup of vodka to the sauce. Now once I do this, I'm going to go ahead and add just another 2 tablespoons of salt. And I can only measure it in my hand. Once you've been cooking as long as I have,
right?
You don't even really need to use measurements anymore.
Right.
That's one thing I loved about my grandma. I miss her so much. God rest her soul. She was from Mississippi, and she loved to cook, and I learned that from her. A good cook doesn't have to use measurements.
I must be a good cook because I sure don't use measurements.
So what we're going to do now, since we got our tomatoes and our garlic and basil cooking down, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to put a top on this and transport it to the oven. And I'm going to go ahead and let it cook. I'm going to let it cook down in the oven at about 400 degrees. If I can get the temperature. Oh, goodness. We're going to go ahead and put it on 400 degrees. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do 430 because I really want this to cook together. And I'm going to transport it to the oven. And our sauce should have been cooked down within about 45 minutes. Our sauce should be ready and we can move on to the next step of completing the penne alla vodka. So, like I said, 45 minutes. We'll get it back on the stove and complete the dish and whatnot. So, I guess we can cut there. Everybody,
hold on. Start over. Say it again. I'm sorry.
All right, now welcome back, everybody. While we're waiting for the sauce to simmer more together and whatnot, I'm going to go ahead and start sauteing some chicken and some shrimp that I wanted to go ahead and put in the penne alla vodka. And you'll see that it'll go well together. I mean, it's nice to have the penne alla vodka itself, but I mean, when you have pasta, you got to have some type of meat or some type of chicken to go along with it. Now, I got a little bit of shrimp here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just kind of like chop it up. I didn't use very much shrimp because I have chicken that I'm going to incorporate into the dish also. So what I'm going to do is just take a knife and kind of like give it a little bit of a chop. There we go. And we're going to just chop a little bit of this up. And it don't have to be very big pieces. I don't like for my shrimp to be really big pieces, especially when I'm adding it to a pasta like the penne alla vodka. I like a little bit of a surprise. Then, of course, I have my chicken. I'm going to go ahead and use 2 whole breasts because with the shrimp and with the pasta and whatnot, you don't want too much. Have too much of a dish that you can't, you overfeeding people and whatnot, I guess. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and season my chicken. Add a little bit of cracked black pepper. Add a little bit of salt. Just a little pinch of salt, pretty much. I have to be careful because sometimes I have a tendency to go crazy with the salt. And I always like to add just a little bit of crushed red pepper just to give it a little bit of a spice and a kick. And one thing you're going to find is when we actually start putting together, we actually start sauteing the chicken and whatnot, it'll create a juice, and we're going to also incorporate that into the Penne Alla Vodka sauce. And it'll just add just a little bit of extra flavor. So, and that's what I love. Like when I go and I made Penne Alla Vodka before, I would add that, chicken juice from the skillet, from the chicken frying to my dish, and it just, like I said, it just added an extra flavor to it, and an extra dimension that just drives people crazy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of oil to my pan, and I'm going to go ahead and turn my oven up, put it up on high because I want the chicken to cook really fast. Now, as you can see, the pasta over here to the left hand side, we've already drained it and whatnot. I put a little bit of oil in the pasta just to keep it from sticking. I got one that fell out of the pan, so I guess I'll go ahead and have it. That tastes pretty good. Awesome. So, just to let you all know, for a dish for the Penne Alla Vodka dish, you're going to need a food processor, because you're going to need to blend all the tomatoes and the onions and basil and garlic and everything together, again, just to make a sauce. And you do this right before you actually add the heavy cream. So, while my oil is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and check on my vodka dish, my vodka sauce, and just to see how everything's coming together. Oh, wow, that looks great. So, of course, I have to taste it. And it's always good to let it cook down and let it simmer for a good 45 minutes to an hour, because you want to give that vodka a little bit of time to cook down and for that alcohol to burn off. When you actually taste this sauce, you don't want to be tasting alcohol. I mean, it tastes really gross. So you definitely want to allow the time for the tomatoes and the vodka and the garlic and everything to just mix together.
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate together.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a cup of heavy cream to my dish, to my vodka sauce. And I'm going to go ahead and just mix that together, a quick little mix, excuse me.
Now, what kind of cream is that?
I just use regular heavy cream from the grocery store. You can use any heavy cream that you want to. And I'm just going to let that sit for just a moment. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick taste and see what we got going on here. See here. Oh, that's really, really good. Woo-hoo. But it does need just a little bit more salt. So we're going to add a little bit of salt. A tablespoon to be exact. I have to be careful. Like I said again, I will go crazy with the salt. I'm going to mix that in and let that sit for a while. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn my attention back to my skillet. I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken to the skillet. And these are pretty big pieces. I like to put them face down. And we're just going to go ahead and just let those saute and fry. While those are frying, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now, get my vodka sauce all together, put it in my food processor. And I want to warn you guys off the bat, this is going to get a little bit loud, so don't feel alarmed. I mean, if you look at how that sauce has come together, since it's actually, marinated and boiled down together with the vodka and all the spices and then adding the heavy cream. Oh, it's really good. I'm going to go ahead and take my ladle. And I'm going to start adding my vodka sauce to my food processor. I'm going to make sure everything's in play in the blade and whatnot. Don't want sauce go splattering everywhere.
Right.
One thing I hate is a messy kitchen.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So that's why I always try to, clean up as I'm going along. Oh, I can just see this coming together really good. I'm so excited.
I'm excited.
Now, have you guys had Penne Alla Vodka before?
Nope. Can't say that I have.
Well, I'm excited that I have you guys over you, and I'm telling you guys are going to love it. So we're going to go ahead and continue adding all of our vodka sauce. Now, Marcia, you might want to step back just a minute, for just a bit, because I'm going to go ahead and just dump the rest of this in. I'm going to turn my stove off. Okay, and Krista, you might want to step back so you don't get anything on you. All right, there we go. What I'm going to do is go ahead and put my lid on that. Oh, oops, sorry, people. A little clumsy in the kitchen. A little clumsy.
That's all right. Look, just makes you human.
There we go. Don't have to be perfect.
Right.
Thank God. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just blend everything together. Kind of try to clean up as we go along here. So we're going to blend everything together now. And I'm going to go ahead and put the food processor on high because I want everything to blend together. Oh, I guess well, it would help if I would plug it up. Let's see here. There we go. Very good. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and start out on low. Oh, gosh. It's spilling over. Okay. You want to give it a good mix for about a good 30 seconds. As you can see, my cup pretty much overfloweth. Making too much sauce. I go crazy with things, I tell you. This is why I probably need to be better at ingredients. Alright, like I said, we give that a good spin for a good 30 seconds. I'm going to just go ahead and turn it off. And when you see how everything's come together. Oh, wow, that looks beautiful. Let me just give it a good taste here. Okay, that's awesome. Wonderful. Despite the fact they got vodka sauce all over the place. It's come together pretty good other than that. So I'm going to go ahead and just transfer the vodka sauce back to the pot that I had it in. I'm going to have to tilt this a little bit. We'll go ahead and add our... And it's okay if you have chunks in your vodka sauce. Because again, that's just pretty much the onions and the basil, and it adds flavor. So this is pretty much the finished product of the vodka sauce. And I really don't stop there with my vodka sauce. I like to add just a little bit of Parmesan cheese. I like to go for the shredded Parmesan cheese and whatnot. I think it adds a little bit more flavor and a little bit more kick.
So the texture should be kind of like, you know, like what you got there, just kind of...
The texture should be pretty thick.
Thick, okay.
You know, so... See here, our chicken looks like it's coming along good. We're going to go ahead and let it stay face down for a little bit longer because I wanted to pretty much brown on both sides and whatnot. We're going to have to cook those bits of chicken a little longer because they're bigger pieces. So I'm having a little trouble here getting my little container open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just add all of this shaved
now, what
Parmesan.
Is that? Oh, Parmesan, okay.
Shaved Parmesan. I love shaved Parmesan. It's really, really good.
Can you show them the container?
You always want to get maybe like...
Show the front so they can see.
Maybe 4.5 ounces. And it tastes really good.
Hold it up again.
And it just adds pretty much an extra kick, extra flavor to the Penne Alla Vodka sauce. And I'm going to go ahead and just mix that up. Get another spoon, okay? Throw it away. So we're going to go ahead and mix all of this together. And as you can see, that is a beautiful color. Oh gosh, and it tastes and it smells so good. With all the basil and whatnot. And I love working with basil because it's such an intense herb and whatnot.
It sure is. Like I put it in my spaghetti and stuff. Ooh, it just gives it like a little nice flavor.
I hear you. I love it on pizzas too.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the back burner and put it on low so it can just cook a little bit more. I'm gonna leave that alone for a while. Now I'm gonna turn my attention to this chicken. Excuse me. And as you can see, this chicken is coming along pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and just turn it. Okay, now you might want to move back once you don't want it to get burnt. So, and as you can see, it's getting really golden brown like I wanted to on both sides. I'm making a little bit of a mess here, but oh well. And once the chicken is done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my shrimp to the mix. Sorry, folks. These peppers are getting to me. Now this meal, it may seem like a lot of effort goes into making this meal, but it's really worth it in the end once you actually, follow the recipe rules or even developing your own recipe and whatnot, if you're a foodie, that is. I tell you, the people who eat it or your family members, they won't be sorry. So again, we're going to go ahead and let the chicken cook a little bit longer. Now one thing I will say, when you have bigger pieces like this, if you want the chicken to cook faster, what you want to do is go ahead and just split the chicken pieces in half and whatnot. I won't do that as a demonstration now because I already have the chicken in the pan. But like I said, just to cook it faster or get it to saute faster, just cut the pieces in half. Now these, like I said before, they're pretty thick, so it's going to take a little while longer for them to cook. And while we're waiting on those, I'm going to go ahead and turn my attention back to the Penne Alla Vodka sauce. And it looks like it's coming together pretty well. So soon we'll be able to add all of our ingredients together and go from there. I'm going to go ahead and clean up just a little bit. It looks like I got crazy here with the sauce, so we're going to clean up just a little bit as we go along. Wow, I really got crazy with this vodka sauce. But make sure, unlike me, make sure that you have a big enough, container and whatnot. I think my container it looks like it was about, let's see here, about 5 cups. This itself is about 5 cups. So when you're making a vodka sauce or any sauce, sometimes, depending on the ingredients, it's probably best to use the biggest container you can possible, or biggest mixing bowl you can possible, because you see how mine pretty much just overflows. So that's just something to be aware of if you're one of those that don't like cleaning up while you're cooking. So I'm just going to finish trying to chop these shrimp off, then I'm going to go ahead and just put them off to the side. So I don't know about you guys, but in my pasta dishes, I love to have a lot of pastas and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick boil. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for a second. Wash our hands. Alright, and check on our chicken and our vodka sauce and whatnot. Like I said, it's come along pretty good. So we're pretty much just waiting for the chicken and the shrimp. And what I like to do, like when I'm cooking my chicken and whatnot, I like to try to chop it up as I'm going along to try to get it to cook faster. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just take a fork, and a kitchen knife, and I'm going to start chopping it up. This is the only thing I hate about using this method to try to get the chicken to cook faster, because as you can see, it's still pink in the middle. And again, of course, it comes from this being so thick. These pieces of cuts being so thick. But the only thing I love doing this, or cutting the chickens down, but the only thing I really probably hate about it is the fact that I get popped or get burnt so much.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and cut this down into smaller pieces just so we can saute it faster. Okay, here we go. And again, you see how that chicken juice is actually forming the juice and whatnot, along with the oil. Right. Oh gosh, that's really gonna, like I said before, gonna really add a lot of good flavors to the Penne Alla Vodka sauce. This dish takes a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. So I'm just gonna continue cutting up my chicken. Oh God, I just got popped again by some grease. Oh gosh, I'm dying over here. Burning myself to death. See here? Okay, just let me know once you're ready.
Oh, it's on.
Okay. Alright, everybody. It looks like our chicken is almost done. And as stated before, when you actually, and some of you may already know, like when you're sauteing chicken in the pan, when you have bigger pieces, to reduce the cook time or the sauteing time, just fillet them down to smaller pieces and whatnot, or you can just cut them down like I did to smaller pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and just transfer the chicken to my cutting board, my clean cutting board, because I'm going to need to chop them up just a little bit more before I apply them to the vodka sauce. And of course, you can see the chicken juice has formed. Oh, that's going to be really good with the vodka sauce. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that in the vodka sauce, what's left. And then I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit more oil, because now I'm going to go ahead and saute my shrimp for a few seconds. And you know with shrimp, you don't have to cook them very long. And I'm going to put maybe less than a tablespoon of oil in the pan. Go ahead and add my shrimp. And like I said, I like shrimp because you don't have to cook them. And like chicken, you don't have to cook them very long. You just cook them for a few moments until they turn pink, which should be happening here momentarily. I'm sorry, Marcia, if this is too much heat and smoke for you.
Oh, no, it's fine.
But that's a good cook. What I'll do is go ahead and improvise. Turn on the fan. There we go.
No, it ain't bothering me.
And I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of salt. Again, I'm going crazy with salt, of course. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of salt to my shrimp. Cracked black pepper. And once I'm actually done sauteing the shrimp, I'm going to go ahead and just add it to the dish. And then we'll go ahead and just come back to the chicken and go ahead and get that chopped up. And as you can see, our dish is almost done. But, you know, adding the chicken and shrimp is really just optional. I like to do a little bit extra every time and go the extra mile when it comes to cooking a dish because, again, I'm one of those that's into food. I'm very adventurous when it comes to the kitchen, when it comes to food, so I always want to go that extra step and do more to give my guests or I like to call it my R&D or research and development team who's trying my food and whatnot. Just a little bit more of a wow.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and need a little bit more of a twist, and then go ahead and check back on our vodka sauce and get that little chicken juice and oil incorporated in. Now you can see it's a little bit gummy and whatnot because I added the Parmesan to it, but that is really just optional. If you actually continue to cook the sauce, that will actually break up the gumminess and whatnot. But like I said, you know, the Parmesan cheese, the chicken, and the shrimp are totally optional.
It seems like it will continue to get thicker, though, like, if you continue to cook it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it will make it thicker eventually, but right now, as you can see, it's just gummy. But it's all going to come together great in the end. That's trust me, you won't be sorry.
Oh, I believe it. It looks good.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and add my shrimp to and I'm just going to let it sit there on the top for a second. I'm going to go turn my stove off. Now I'm going to come back to my chicken. I'm going to go ahead and just give that a few chops. Thank God it's not as hot. Now worry about having hot fingers and whatnot. So we're going to give our chicken just a little bit of a chop. Oh, wow. Tastes so good. And you always want to try to chop it down into smaller pieces. Because, I mean, you don't want to be biting into big chunks. You want to be able to taste the sauce. I mean, that's the whole purpose for the dish. So, the chicken is really just a little bit extra. So, I'm going to go ahead and just cut up a few pieces. And they've been seasoned to perfection. And as far as the crushed red pepper, it's really just optional. I like to add crushed red pepper because it's one of my favorite spices. So wherever I get a chance to use it, whether it's in a spaghetti sauce or it's just frying some or any type of sauce that doesn't really include a lot of dairy like Alfredo sauces, I'll go crazy with it, especially with my sauteed vegetables. So that's crushed red pepper is definitely one of my favorite spices. So we're almost done here with our chicken. And we're going to start incorporating it into our vodka sauce. And I'm going to leave some off to the side if you ladies would like to partake. So we'll go ahead and just add all of our chicken to the vodka sauce. Right? And as you can see, everything is coming together beautifully. And now that I've added all of my meats, my chicken, and my shrimp, to my vodka sauce, I'm going to go ahead and incorporate it into the penne pasta. Now, over time, you know, you have to be careful. It's probably better to make more sauce and sometimes double the ingredients when it comes to the sauces, especially when you're incorporating the sauce into a pasta, because we know pasta always soaks up the sauces and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and give that a good mix. Oh, wow, that's coming together beautifully. So So our dish is complete.
Yay!
And here you have it. I'm going to go ahead and plate some of this up. I have some of my guests sample it. Everybody ready?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
We are so ready. I'm always ready to eat though, so that ain't nothing new.
So as you can see, like I said, it's
That
a little
ain't
bit gummy
new.
because of the fact that we actually had incorporated Parmesan cheese into it. And again, that's totally optional. I always do it for a little extra flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna wipe off the plate here. And there you have it, Penne Alla Vodka. We can just actually just put a little bit of a cheese garnish on. And there you have it, Penne Alla Vodka with shrimp and chicken. And for the official taste test, done by Miss Marcy. All right.
I pray you like it.
Girl.
Yes, please do. All right, so what do you think?
It is good.
All right, and the sauce itself, what about with the shrimp and the chicken?
Everything tastes really like well blended.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks so much. Well, there you have it from one of my most trusted confidants and one of my R&D researchers, Marcy. She said the dish is a hit. What about you, Krista?
No. Oh, it's great.
All right, awesome. Well, there you have it. Looks like this dish is a winner. And thank you guys for trying out the dish and tuning in and actually supporting me and whatnot. Tune in next month where we might travel to France, to Paris, and do some coq au vin, or shoot on over to London and maybe do some fish and chips or even some bangers and mash. So, until then, this is Tamara signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye.
Peace.
All right, awesome.